So it gives me great pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you Dr. Marlene Kanga, who is the president of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor and Miguel Klusner-Dott, and all the presidents of the various engineering institutions from around the world. I think we have more than 50 here. All the leaders of engineering, especially the members of the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, and all our distinguished guests and delegates. It's a real pleasure to be here. I would first like to start with reading a message from the UN Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, who is himself an engineer from Portugal. The Global Engineering Congress is in fact the first time that engineers of the world have come together to discuss sustainable development. And this statement is an acknowledgement of this important step that we're taking this week. So here is his message. I congratulate the Institution of Civil Engineers on its 200th anniversary. As one of the world's oldest such organizations, the institution has made significant contributions to the development of the very infrastructure of modern life. I also thank the World Federation of Engineering Organizations, which encompasses institutions from 100 nations and 30 million engineers, for its leadership of the profession internationally, and which is marking its 50th anniversary. Both milestones demonstrate the important contribution that engineering has made to our economies and our societies. The United Nations will continue to count on your engagement and support as we strive to achieve the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, the world's blueprint for building a future of peace and prosperity for all on a healthy planet. Every one of the goals requires solutions rooted in science, technology, and of course, engineering. I'm therefore pleased that the focus of this Global Engineering Congress is to advance the goals relating to water, energy, infrastructure, and cities. Climate action is especially urgent. Climate change is running faster than we are, and I continue to stress the need to do what science demands before it is too late. In this year of engineering in the United Kingdom, I thank you for your commitment to our shared objectives and offer all the participants in the Global Engineering Congress my best wishes for a successful event. So that concludes the statement from Mr. Antonio Guterres. So now I will continue with my contribution to this great opening. As I said before, it's a real pleasure to be here at the Global Engineering Congress. And the World Federation of Engineering Organizations is very proud to be leading this as part of the 200th anniversary celebrations of the Institution of Civil Engineers UK, a very important national member of our federation. And of course, we're also celebrating our 50th anniversary. The World Federation of Engineering Organizations is the peak body of engineering internationally. We are the voice of engineering at an international level, and we promote the role of engineers and key issues that the world is now facing, including sustainable development, the growth of our cities, climate change, strategies for sustainable energy production to meet the needs of the growing population around the world. The Federation was established in the week of the 4th of March, 1968, under the auspices of UNESCO at an event that was attended by 4 regional engineering organizations representing the Americas, UPADI, the Middle East, the Federation of Arab Engineers, Europe, the Federation of European Engineers, FIANI, and the Commonwealth Engineers, which is based here in the UK. In its work, the World Federation of Engineering Organizations is recognized by governments, intergovernmental organizations, and NGOs as a respected and reliable voice and guidance on strategies and policies that use engineering and technology for the benefit of human development and well-being. The implementation of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is a key strategic objective of the Federation. These goals take an integrated approach for future development, combining progress in economic prosperity, social inclusion, and environmental sustainability. So we are very delighted that this Congress will be focusing on some specific goals: water, energy, innovation, sustainable infrastructure, and actions to mitigate against climate change. And in fact, this is the first time that engineers have come together in such a big way to discuss these issues. The focus on these sustainable development goals recognize that engineers are at the heart of sustainable development, using their ingenuity to develop and implement the solutions that the world so desperately needs to manage its resources, address climate change, and protect our climate. Because the word engineer itself comes from the Latin ingenium, which is a root of ingenuity, which means innate quality and especially mental power. So engineers have been recognized for millennia as being the clever people who produce solutions to everyday problems using science and mathematics and doing and going where no one has been before. Engineers have been innovating and changing the world for centuries. The Acropolis and the Parthenon in Greece, the Roman aqueducts and the Colosseum, the pyramids in Egypt, and the cities and pyramids of the Mayan, Inca, and Aztec empires, and even structures in the UK like Stonehenge are testaments to the ingenuity of the engineers of ancient times. These engineers built edifices not only to the gods and the rulers. For example, the Roman roads like the Via Appia and the Great Wall of China are examples of the skill of civil and military engineers that supported the political and military ambitions of the rulers of the day. But for ordinary people also, engineers built cities in ancient times, like those of the Indus Valley and the Nile Delta, with rectangular street grids, grand buildings, public baths. Engineers and engineering underpinned power, political, military, and economic. And the Romans used engineering to extend their vast empires with roads and aqueducts that enabled armies to travel long distances quickly, not only for conquest, but also for communications, because even in those times, information and communication was critical. Many of the cities of Europe, from Rome to London, owe their development to these early engineers, and we can still see some of their magnificent engineering work today in this great city. The speed with which engineers reshaped the world gathered pace in the first industrial revolution in 18th century in Europe, which was driven by inventions like the steam engine by the great Scottish engineer James Watt and others. And in fact, in this wonderful room, we have so many of the great engineers from the UK that made this contribution. Steam engines led to the development of rail networks, led by the thinkings of great engineers like George Stephenson, and other discoveries like electricity and magnetism led to further innovation and inventions that became the core of the Industrial Revolution. For those of us who marvel and delight in using the great London Underground, I have to mention the great British civil engineer Brunel, who quite literally changed the English landscape with his groundbreaking designs and prolific construction, which included dockyards, ships, and the Great Western Railway, which terminates at Paddington Station, which we can still see today. His tunnels and bridges contributed and still contribute to London and the UK today, making it an economic and international financial powerhouse, and of course, a great city. And of course, I must acknowledge the women engineers who made such a huge contribution to our modern world, especially in the UK, including Sarah Guppy, who patented bridge piling in the 19th century, Dame Caroline Hazlitt, electrical engineer and co-founder of the Electrical Association and the Women Engineers Society, which will celebrate its centenary next year. And Ada Lovelace, daughter of Lord Byron and mathematician, who worked with Charles Babbage on the first analytical machines, which eventually became computers. Their work shows that biology is not a barrier, and women can and are great engineers. These developments of civil engineering led to the formation of the Institution of Civil Engineers in 1818. The great Scottish engineer Thomas Telford, after whom this theatre is named, was the first president and is buried in Westminster Abbey. A testament to the prestige of engineering and the recognition of its contribution to society even at that time. And the location of this building itself, here in the Westminster precinct, is also a recognition of the importance of engineering and its role in implementing scientific discoveries of the day into practical solutions that supported military and political power, including in the Great Wars, as well as the development of our economies and societies. So the pace of innovation in engineering has not slowed in the past 200 years. Industrialization and rail travel have eventually led to the developments of jet engines and global travel. And the first computers have led to global connections and access to vast amounts of information. All this is possible through scientific discovery and the practical implementation of engineers. The creativity of engineers has changed the world, affecting the quality of life of everyone in every part of the globe. And engineers continue to be at the forefront of shaping our world in the 21st century, economically, socially, and politically. In the last 30 years alone, we have seen the rapid rise of computers and communication technology. The invention of the smartphone and social media just 10 years ago has provided extraordinary access to information and communications that has led to political upheavals, such as the one we saw in Malaysia in July this year. Technology has also provided economic opportunities. Mobile payment systems in use in many countries in Africa have enabled millions to complete financial transactions via smartphone, even those without a bank account. The use of identity cards, such as the Aadhaar card in India, has enabled other forms of transactions, such as access to education and health services. And high-speed Wi-Fi, invented by Australian engineer John Sullivan, has enabled communications in the remotest part of the world, bringing social and economic change. And engineering has also enabled the exploration of space and perhaps the colonization of new worlds in the not-too-distant future. Yes, engineers are transforming our world at an unprecedented pace in ways we could never have imagined even a decade ago. And now we stand at the brink of the fourth industrial revolution and the potential creation and mass use of computer systems that will change engineering itself and the way engineers work. It is estimated that 90% of the work of civil engineers is embedded in the excellent codes and standards that underpin much of civil engineering. These can now be used to build automated systems that can take over routine design work, and tasks that once took many months of effort will be processed by a computer in a matter of hours. Simulation, optimization, 3D modeling, and automation are transforming engineering, and artificial intelligence will be used for many tasks with little human intervention. Nevertheless, engineers are needed more than ever for tasks which cannot be easily automated, such as finding creative solutions to problems, being innovative even when resources are limited, using sustainability principles in design, construction, and manufacture, managing risk, ensuring safety, protecting the environment, and eliminating bribery and corruption. Many of these involve value-based judgments that hopefully will not be replaced anytime soon. We need to be smarter and more ingenious than ever before, and we need the best brains, the best intellects, irrespective of gender or race. We need the best people to become engineers. I'm very pleased that the face of engineering is changing. Until just 50 years ago, most of the engineers of the world graduated from the great universities of the UK, Europe, and the United States. Today, the graduates from these countries represent less than 20% of our newest engineers. China and India each graduate approximately 1 million engineers and technologists each year, and there are large numbers graduating from new universities in Asia, South America, and Africa. Malaysia, for example, has increased the number of its engineers almost tenfold in the last 20 years. And I'm also delighted that increasingly a high proportion of students from these countries are women. More than 50% at universities in some countries in Asia and the Middle East, such as in Kuwait. And in some countries like Myanmar, they have cracked the 30% ceiling, with large numbers of women studying engineering and technology subjects and becoming engineers. This is simply a recognition of the power of engineering to fast-track economic development. Young people in Asia, Africa, and South America are embracing engineering as the path to a prestigious and prosperous career. This is just as well because the world needs more engineers, because we as engineers have a great deal of unfinished business. In Asia and Africa, as has already been said, 1/3 of the world lacks access to basic sanitation. That is more than 1 billion people. And 1/6 of the world's population lacks clean water and electricity. These are basic amenities that we simply take for granted. And we need action on climate change, which is already impacting on small island developing states, such as in the Pacific and the Caribbean. We need to develop livable cities to address the growth in urban population with the development of sustainable solutions for housing and transportation. Every one of these challenges are represented in the UN Sustainable Development Goals. These goals require an integrated approach to development. Each one of these goals requires engineering. We need urgent action to develop the solutions that are needed to serve people everywhere, protect our planet, and ensure prosperity. However, this is no easy task. We need to be smarter, learn faster, be more creative and innovative than ever before, because we have a great responsibility. We are the change makers. We have the skills and the ability to change the world, for better or for worse. So let's use our skills wisely and responsibly. It's about engineering with impact. It's not about just building the biggest, brightest, and shiniest of them all, but it's a new approach to engineering, being thoughtful about its implications on our society and on our world. The World Federation of Engineering Organizations is certainly up to the task. As we celebrate our 50th anniversary in 2018, we have developed the WFEO Engineering 2030 Plan, which is a plan of action with projects in hand, working with our international partners in engineering and our national and international members, including the Institution of Civil Engineers, and with international agencies like UNESCO. I am pleased that at this Congress, we are showcasing our young engineering leaders from around the world and their work on projects to advance sustainable development. We will be discussing strategies for greater diversity in engineering, essential for innovative solutions for sustainable development. We will be talking about the latest technologies, not just the wow factor, but how to implement these technologies responsibly for the benefit of society. I am proud that we have presenters from every region of the world, from nearly 50 countries, speaking passionately about the issues in their region and the engineering solutions they are leading. We will be talking about tough subjects like corruption in infrastructure projects and how this holds back sustainable development. We will be coming together with our partners for collaborative discussions on the work to be done. And importantly, we are commencing at this Congress our commitment to develop capacity in engineering with our first workshop tomorrow. We have a clear vision of what we need to do, and now we need to roll up our sleeves and do it together. I'm so pleased that we are commencing some of this work right here in London, and we will be launching projects in the next 2 days and developing plans for further action, which will be a lasting legacy of this important week. I am looking forward to the various forums and discussions that we will hold and the many unique opportunities for discourse and decision-making. My very best wishes to everyone in the Congress, and my sincere thanks to the Institution of Civil Engineers, Council, and staff for hosting the World Federation here today, as well as the civil engineers from America, ASCE, Canada, CSCE, and ECHE, Europe. The ICE and this building have been witness to many historical and groundbreaking achievements in engineering, and I'm convinced that this week is going to be one of those. It's going to be an important milestone, a time when we will pivot, a turning point, and we will decide what needs to be done differently in engineering. This Congress is an opportunity to celebrate, but also to look ahead, to plan for a sustainable future, and to engineer a better world. Thank you. And now I have a poll question for those who have downloaded the event app. Please tap Sessions to locate the session and vote on the question that we have there, which is, I think, do you think we should be measuring the impact of our work on the Sustainable Development Goals? And we will tell you the results sometime later in the week. Do we have the question? Is the question there?
Yes, it is. If you go into the event app and then click on Sessions, and then in the Sessions, you then click on the opening plenary, and that's where you will see you have the functionality of the poll, and you can vote yourself. Can you bring the poll on the screen?
Can you bring the poll on the screen, please? Ah, excellent. Everyone says yes, or no one's voted?
Well, that's a good start.
Power of technology and engineering.
I think it's still
working.
It's still working. Okay.
Oh.
Someone's saying.
Excellent. So it's working. We know it's working.